Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Radha Gopinath ki jai, Nitai Gopamanandi. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sannivadi Paschati. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 25, titled The Glories of Devotional Service, and we are on text 35. Pasyanti te me rucharanyam bashanta rucharanyasam. Okay, we'll try that one again. You don't like that melody? You want a different melody? No. It's my melody anyway. I thought it was easy. Pasyanti te me rucharanyam bashanta prasana vakparuna lochanani Urupani divyani varapradani Sakam vacham spri hanyam vadanti. I missed a syllable. Sakam vacham spri hanyam vadanti. Pasyanti te me ruchiranyam Pasyanti te me ruchiranyam bashanta Ruchiranyam bashanta Prasana vaktrarunalo chanani Rupani divyani varapradani Sakam vacham sprihaniyam vadanti. Pasyanti te me rucharyam vasantaha. Prasana vakranu Urupani divyani varapradani Pani divyani Sakam bhacham sprihaniyam vadanti. Brahmasam Rochanani Ladies? Word meanings? Pasyanti, see, te, de, me, my, ruchirani, beautiful, amba, O mother, shantaha, devotees, prasanna, smiling, vaktra, face, Aruna, the morning sun, Lochanani, eyes, Rupani, forms, Dibhyani, transcendental, Varapradhani, benevolent, Sakam, with me, Vacham, words, Sprihaniyam, favorable, Vadanti, they speak. Translation, O my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me. I guess you want to repeat it, right? O my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form, with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent. And they also talk favorably with me. We were just in Govardhan, and Burjan Prabhu took us on a little trip to Govardhan, and he said, speak to Govardhan. Tell him your life story. Tell him whatever you want him to know about you, and tell him whatever you need and want. So this verse is talking, part of this verse is talking about talking to the deity. That's the last line. And they also talk favorably with me. Who do they talk to? They talk to me in the form of the deity. We'll talk more about that. It just came to my mind. Purport. Mayavadis and atheists accept the forms of the deities in the temple of the Lord as idols. But devotees do not worship idols. They directly worship the personality of Godhead in His Archa incarnation. Archa refers to the form which we can worship in our present condition. Actually, In our present state, it is not possible to see God in his spiritual form because our material eyes and senses cannot conceive of a spiritual form. We cannot even see the spiritual form of the individual soul. When a man dies, we cannot see how the spiritual form leaves the body. This is the defect of our material senses. In order to be seen by our material senses, the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts a favorable form which is called Archa Vigraha. This Archa Vigraha, sometimes called the Archa Incarnation, is not different from him, just as the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts various incarnations. He takes on forms made of matter, clay, wood, metal, and jewels. There are many Shastric injunctions which give instructions for carving forms of the Lord. These forms are not material. If God is all-pervading, then he is also in the material elements. There's no doubt about it. But the atheists think otherwise. Although they preach that everything is God, when they go to the temple and see the form of the Lord, they deny that he is God. According to their own theory, everything is God. Then why is the deity not God? Actually, they have no conception of God. The devotee's vision, however, is different. Their vision is smeared with love of God. As soon as they see the Lord in his different forms, the devotees become saturated with love, for they do not find any difference between the Lord and his form in the temple, as do the atheists. The smiling face of the deity in the temple is beheld by the devotees as transcendental and spiritual, and the decoration of the body of the Lord is very much appreciated by the devotees. It is the duty of the spiritual master to teach how to decorate the deity in the temple, how to cleanse the temple, and how to worship the deity. There are different procedures and rules and regulations which are followed in temples of Vishnu. And devotees go there and see the deity, the Vigraha, and spiritually enjoy the form because all of the deities are benevolent. The devotees express their minds before the deity, and in many instances the deity also gives answers. But one must be a very elevated devotee in order to be able to speak with the Supreme Lord. Sometimes the Lord informs the devotee through dreams. These exchanges of feelings between the deity and the devotee are not understandable by atheists, but actually the devotee enjoys them. Kapila Muni is explaining how the devotees see the decorated body and face of the deity and how they speak with him in devotional service. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shnabadaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Ti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sanyavari Paschatya Satana Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pakulangaiti Girim Yakkapatamaham Bande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Panchakapatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nice to be back. I think I was here, when? 4 years ago? 3, 4. Anyone remember? 5. 2019, 20, 21. 4 years. Hare Krishna. So, there's a couple points Prabhupada's making in this purport, that Krishna is the deity. You can talk to him and he can talk to you. And if you don't have the vision, you will see stone. But basically what that means is if your heart is like stone, then you'll see the deity as stone. And Prabhupada in a lecture once said that if your heart is like stone, then you'll think, oh, my spiritual master, he's given me this huge burden to take care of this deity, or it's the standard of deity worship so intense. It requires so much work. Oh, he's given me a big burden, instead of feeling the burden of love. So what Prabhupada is explaining here is material senses, spiritual senses. With material senses, you see things materially. With spiritual senses, you can perceive things spiritually. And Prabhupada gives the example when Mahaprabhu went to Jagannath Puri and he saw Lord Jagannath, he saw Shyam Sundar. He said, there's my Shyam Sundar, and he fainted. Because that's what he saw. He didn't see a wooden statue. Once there was a lady coming to our temple in America, and she was Christian. She had a real problem with the deities. He said, yeah, I like to chant and all the philosophy is good, but the deity, because of course in Christianity they see the deity as an idol. So I tried to explain it in this way, because she'd accepted the holy name. I said, so in your religion, Christianity, you have the holy name, right? The Church of the Holy Names, or the Convent of the Sisters of the Holy Name, right? So that's, at least in Catholicism, you have this concept. The Holy Bible. There was, I think in where I live in America, I think there was a Christian church, a Christian man who burnt the Koran or something, or spit on it, or stomped on it, or something. You know, and so one could say, well, it's just paper. What's your problem, right? But it's called the Holy Koran, isn't it? Is that what it says? Well, anyway, it's holy. What's holy? The words are holy. The words are transcendental. They're spiritual. So this book is made of paper, so why can't I spit on it? What's your problem? You know, because you have a problem with the deity. You say the deity's a statue. So if it's a statue, we shouldn't worship it. So if this is just paper, I can use it for, whatever. Cleaning up my dog stool when I take my dog for a walk. Why not? It's just paper. No, it's holy. You can't do that. It's holy. Okay. So your book is holy. The name of Jesus is holy, but the form is not holy. The form's an idol. Doesn't make sense, does it? So we say the holy name is Krishna incarnated in sound, right? It's nama rupa. It's the form of Krishna in name, in sound. And so what's so difficult about that? If we accept the name in sound, why not in metal? Sound is just a subtle material element. It's still material, so why not metal? What's the real difference? Is there one? Not really, right? And then we don't discriminate. It can be metal, it can be marble, it can be wood, it can be clay, right? You can make a deity out of the element of mind, because mind is a subtle material element. So if you meditate on Krishna in your mind, like the Brahmin did, and he did his puja in his mind, that's the same. Just like sometimes I travel and my wife worships Giriraj, but in some situations she can't. So she doesn't take Giriraj with her, or she takes, but she does the puja in her mind. So you can create a deity in your mind. Why not? And that's non-different, right? I mean, we wouldn't do it in a temple. Obviously, it's something individual. So now Prabhupada's saying the deity you can speak to the deity. Well, what should you tell the deity? Well, just like I was saying, you can tell the deity all about your life. You can tell the deity what you want. But there's another interesting thing you could tell the deity, and we actually did this in one temple once. During the Govinda prayers, every devotee came to the front. We made a line, and they came to the front, and they spoke to the deities every day. And it said, yesterday, this is what I did. I did this seva, and this is the result. This is what I'm struggling with. This is what I need, and so forth. But there's another thing I think we should be doing, and we don't do this. And we don't do it because we think it's not part of our teaching, and that's asking for forgiveness or repentance. And you'll find in Nectar Devotion, a devotee goes up to the deity and he explains to the deity all of the sins he's committed. And I think that section is called submission. In other words, you're submitting to, here's the honest truth about me, so you're submitting. And the devotee submits and he says to the deity, I'm embarrassed to tell you how sinful I am and all the sins I've done in my life, but I want to submit this to you. So, of course, in Christianity, this is called confession. You confess regularly, not just once. So I've often thought about that, and sometimes, or many of us may think, well, there's no such thing as confession in Krishna consciousness, because it's not programmed into our morning program. So if it's not in our morning program, we may tend to think it's not there, but it's right there in Nectar Devotion. And so that's just a suggestion. You may want to introduce this idea. I think it's beautiful, where everyone gets a chance to go to the deity during the Govinda prayers, and you can confess, you can report your service, you do whatever you want, you can tell the deity anything. And Prabhupada tells the story about Sakshi Gopal. It's kind of funny. Most of us know the story, but a vow was made in front of the deity, and a person was going to break the vow. A vow was made to another person. So the person who made the vow was going to break it, and the person who the vow was made to thought, well, he made the vow in front of the deity, and if he breaks it, he's going to suffer. So anyway, it's a long story, but it was required that the deity walk from where he was to another place so the deity could witness that such and such person made a vow, because he backed down and he said, I didn't make the vow, because he was getting pressure from his family. He vowed. The person who took him, he said, I want you to marry my daughter, but the family didn't want it. So the family said, well, just say you didn't make the vow, and he's making it up. And so then he went to the deity and said, this man is going to suffer because he made a vow in front of you. So out of compassion, he asked the deity, and the boy's son said, well, if you can bring the deity to our village and he testifies, that's why he's called Sakshi, witness. If he testifies, then I'll accept it. And the son was an atheist, so the son thought, well, the deity's not going to come, because the deity's just a statue. So this young Brahmin boy went to the deity, he said, can you come? And the deity said, what makes you think I can walk? And he said, well, if you can talk, because the deity was there having a conversation. He said, well, you can talk, you can walk. And Prabhupada laughed and he said, and the deity was defeated by logic. So the deity came and he could hear the ankle bell and so on. We were just in Mayapur at Jagannath Temple. In the Jagannath Temple, there are many stories. There's a book on Lord Jagannath. There are many stories about the deity. And one beautiful story I want to relate is how there's several stories of devotees who went to the deity and said, my dear Lord, I need this, and if you give it to me, I will give you that. I'll pay you back. I'll give you something, right? So one lady was trying to have a child, and she couldn't have a child. And she said, but if you give me a child, I promise I will raise this child to be a pure devotee. Another devotee wanted a child, couldn't get it. They both got child. They both had children praying to Lord Jagannath. But other people would come, and they'd make a deal. I will give you this. And I thought, okay, that's cool. So there were, I don't know, 20 or 30 of us, or 40 of us. And I told the devotees, well, let's go to Jagannath and make a deal, whatever the deal is, you know. And I thought, that is such a nice thing. So I made a deal with Lord Jagannath. And everyone went and made a deal. My dear Lord Jagannath, you please give me this, or help me with this, or help me with that, and I will give you this. And I thought, that's beautiful, that we can speak to the deity that way. Of course, that deity of Lord Jagannath has the history of all kinds of leelas, talking to devotees and screaming, I'm hungry, and he was buried in the ground, get me out of here, I'm burning, I'm thirsty, and I don't like the prasadam you're cooking, I want the prasadam you cook for Radha Madhava. And some of it is in dreams, and some of it was actually people could hear. So these are nice stories. And it gives us faith that when I speak to the deity is not just a statue, although that's what my eyes think or my mind may think. But as I become purified, that changes. And we know there are stories of pujaris who have dreams, and the deities tell them, I don't like what you're dressing me, or the window's open, or this or that. So we think, oh, Krishna, he's transcendental, but he plays the part of an ordinary person to reciprocate with us. So he'll ask for certain things. Why aren't you giving me this or that? Just like with Sanatana Goswami. Why aren't you putting at least some salt on the chapati, like that. So there's a story that's so amazing that it was told in an interview when devotees were being interviewed for the Prabhupada Lilamrita. This story was told, and it was so amazing. The interviewer didn't believe it, and he didn't put it in the book, unfortunately. And I don't know why he didn't believe it, because the devotee is a credible devotee. He's been a strict devotee all his life, all his devotional life. He's a Prabhupada man, and he has no vested interest in making this story up. But it's so amazing and unbelievable that the interviewer said, "You're lying to me." You want to hear the story? I have your attention, right? Yeah. This was in the old temple in Los Angeles, which was maybe twice or 2.5 times this size. It could maybe hold about 300 devotees. So when Prabhupada would come to LA, there was always there's like 350 or so. So really we're packing devotees in. And most of the devotees would meet him at the airport. But this devotee who told the story, he's a handyman. He fixes everything. So they needed him to fix everything. So he couldn't go to the airport. So there's always something to fix. Prabhupada's coming last minute. Fix this, fix that, paint this, polish that, screw this on, replace this. So he had to stay back and do that. And so when Prabhupada came, all the devotees came. And so Prabhupada walked in, and he was just standing by the altar, and he was surrounded by devotees. So he couldn't move. And it so happened that he was standing next to the Charnamrita, where in the LA temple there were 3 altars in the Charnamritas between Gaur-Nitai and Rukmini Dwarkadish, and that's where Prabhupada, so that's where he was standing. So he was just standing there, and he couldn't get away, and all the devotees surrounded him, and he was right next to Prabhupada, and he's the exact same height as Prabhupada, and he was right next to him. And when Prabhupada was taking darshan of the deities, you don't have to believe this, but I'm just telling you what he said. He said he heard Prabhupada talking to the deities, and he couldn't hear the response, but he saw that Prabhupada was nodding, that there was a response. So I'll tell you what he said. He said, Prabhupada asked, "Are the devotees taking care of you well?" About 4 seconds later, Prabhupada said, "Oh, very good." "Are they feeding you well?" About 4 seconds later. "Oh, very good." "Are they dressing you?" There's the conversations going on. It was an obvious conversation, but he couldn't hear during that 4 seconds anything, but Prabhupada could hear. So there's conversations going on. Prabhupada's asking how the devotees are taking care of you. He's getting the answers, going, "Oh, very good, very nice, very good." Now, what proves to me that this story is true is when Prabhupada got on the Vyasa-san, he said, I don't know if he said it immediately or right before class, he said, "I can see you're taking very good care of the deities." But he could have said, "I've just heard from Krishna, who told me that you're taking very good care of the deities." But the fact that he said, "I can see you're taking very good care of the deities," to me kind of solidifies this story. I have another deity story, which is beautiful. In this time, this was when Prabhupada would visit Los Angeles. This could have been any time in the 70s, but in America, Los Angeles was really the place that book distribution ultimately took off in a huge way. And so everybody wanted to go out on book distribution, and it was almost like if you stayed back and worshipped the deities, you were kind of a loser. Because who would want to do that when you could go out and distribute Prabhupada's books? That was kind of like, you can't do anything else, we'll put you on the altar or the kitchen, right? Worst thing that we did is you can't do anything else, you became a Gurukula teacher. That was like, Hare Krishna. We don't want to talk about that. Yeah, that was like I can't do Sankirtan anymore. Okay, you'll be a Gurukula teacher, yeah. But I don't know how to teach. Doesn't matter. Anyway, we did stupid things, but it's not that if you couldn't do Sankirtan, you'd be put on the altar, but there was a fanaticism that, if you're a Pujari, it's like, what? It's like, what's that all about? You should be on the street distributing Prabhupada's books, or you should be working for the BBT, laying the books out or painting the paintings. You should be doing something with the books. And we felt sorry for the Pujaris, like poor Pujaris, Like, I don't know how they'll ever become Krishna conscious and go back to Godhead without Mahaprabhu's mercy that you get from distributing books. I mean, the book distributors actually felt that way. They didn't always verbalize it. It was internal, it's just like second-class citizens, something like that. Like, basically what they were saying is, I couldn't do deity worship and be Krishna conscious. I have to do Sankirtan. So Prabhupada, he was very observant when he would come and visit the temple and see the deities. And he could, without talking to, maybe he talked in every temple, but we understood that he could just see the deity and he could know if Krishna were happy or not. So one time he came to Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, Prabhupada made that his world headquarters for the Western world. So that means basically everywhere outside of India, that was the headquarters. Everywhere outside of Mayapur, that was the headquarters for the rest of the world. And so what Prabhupada did was he used the Los Angeles temple as a place to establish standards. So that was a place where he established the standard for deity worship. And I spent a lot of time there, my great fortune, when Prabhupada was there. And he established a standard for management, he established a standard for Sankirtan, and he would invite temple presidents from all over the United States. He said, come to Los Angeles, it's called New Dwarka, come there and study how the temple is run. Like that. So that was New Dwarka. So because it was New Dwarka, it had to have a standard, so Prabhupada was concerned about the standard. So one time he came to the temple, and this is for all you pujaris. This question is for you pujaris, because Prabhupada asked this question to the temple president, who was also on the altar all the time. He said, is Rukmini Dwarkadish happy? That was the question he asked him. Like, are your deities happy? And he was thrown off. He said, I don't know, Prabhupada. Like, I didn't ask him today if he was happy. So he didn't say that, but you could imagine, he's thrown off kilter. Like, I don't know. And Prabhupada said, you should know. So wherever I go and I see the pujari, I ask the same question. Are your deities happy? And a lot of pujaris very, very forcefully say, yes, they're very happy, because we feed them nicely. And have any of you ever noticed, who've been around ISKCON for a while, that you come back to a temple and the deities are bigger? Or pujaris that the clothes don't fit anymore and you never wash the clothes? You notice that? Yeah. So another time, Prabhupada came. What time am I supposed to end class? Like 5 minutes ago? 9. Oh, okay. So another time, Prabhupada came to Los Angeles. He took darshan of the deity. And then the head pujari got a message that Prabhupada wanted to see her. And she was freaking out because, when Prabhupada would take darshan, he'd really study the deity. You could see it was like, okay, my professor is like, you're standing for your dissertation, like that. He was like, he kind of felt like, pujaris felt like, this is my dissertation and I have to defend everything I did on the altar right now, and Prabhupada's looking at it. So Prabhupada takes his serious darshan, And later, like a few hours later, the head Pujari gets a message that Prabhupada wants to see you. It's like, oh no, what did I do wrong? Prabhupada wants to see me, the head Pujari, and he's been staring at the deities intently during the Govinda prayers during that darshan. Uh-oh. She goes up to Prabhupada's room and he says, thank you for taking care of the deities so nicely. And you know more here in this temple than anywhere how anxious Prabhupada was that you were taking care of the deities. So this was definitely one of Prabhupada's anxieties, and he expressed this, that you would change the standard of deity worship. You would concoct something, make up something, or lower the standard, or in some way offend the deity. So he's very, very concerned. So if the deities were taken well care of, then he was very happy, very, very happy. So he said, thank you for taking care of the deities. I'm very pleased with this. Pleased with you. He said, by doing this, by this service, you will go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime. So that kind of balanced out the book distribution deity worship, right? So deity worship is there, as Prabhupada is saying in this purport, for our eyes to see something beautiful. Because do your eyes like seeing something beautiful? Like you want to go to Bali and see something beautiful, right? Or wherever you go, Thailand. Where do you go? Bali, Thailand, north of Australia, yeah. And part of what you do on vacation is sightsee. You want to sightsee to see something beautiful. And so the idea of deity worship is that this is the most beautiful thing for your eyes to see. And you come here, you don't have to see anything else beautiful. There's nothing more beautiful. Of course, the eye needs to be purified. So that's when we do austerity, it's difficult, but the reward of austerity is we get to see the beauty of Krishna. That's the reward. The reward of austerity is we get to taste the nectar of the name because the senses become purified. Janma karma chame divyam. Evam yoveti tatata, Krishna says, if you understand my birth and activities in truth, tattva, then you don't come back. So how can you understand them in truth if you're not purified? And how can you become purified if you don't follow a process, do some tapasya, and so forth? So the reward for tapasya is tremendous. And the punishment for not doing it is tremendous. That you'll chant the holy name, it'll be dead. You'll see the deity and you'll see a statue. Like, what could be more painful than that? That's you could say, the curse of not becoming purified. That you don't see Krishna, the deity. You see marble or stone or brass or wood. Now, can we pray to the deity, please show me yourself? Yes, we can. If that's our desire, we can. In fact, early in the movement, a devotee asked Prabhupada, he said, it seems maybe wrong to ask Jagannath to reveal himself to me. Jagannath Shami, Nayana Patagami Bhava, to me. Let me see you. Or let me see you as you are. I want to see you. Please, we translate it as reveal yourself to me, but the Sanskrit, it means please come across the path of my eyes. So you could say, let me see you as you are, or have some revelation. You can translate it in various ways. So this devotee asked Prabhupada, is that okay to ask Krishna to reveal himself? Because Bhaktisiddhanta used to say, well, don't try to see Krishna, but act in a way that Krishna can see you. And then Prabhupada gave an interesting answer. He said, well, if Krishna doesn't reveal himself, how can you go on in devotional service? In other words, if you can't realize that Krishna is in his name, if you can't see Krishna in the deity, if you don't realize Krishna is in the Bhagavatam, how will you continue in devotional service? Because you're just dealing with, your experience is dead. Bhagavatam puts you to sleep, japa puts you to sleep, and you look at the deities and you get bored and you go home and eat your pizza and ice cream. Because that's all you have for pleasure, because you're not getting it transcendentally. So I like to put this in context. That is the curse we bring upon ourselves by not purifying ourselves, that we can't enter more deeply into the holy name. So recently when I was in Vrindavan, I was thinking, if I chant the holy name and I don't cry, I'm a japa loser. If I read Bhagavatam, I don't cry, I'm a Bhagavatam loser. If I see the deities and I don't cry, I'm a deity darshan loser. It's just that when the heart softens, there will be tears. There will be emotion that comes up in relation to these activities. Raghunath Das Goswami, his Bhagavatam was wet. Why? Because he was crying when he was reading it. When was the last time you cried reading Bhagavatam? The last time you cried seeing the deity? The last time you cried chanting the holy name? So Bhagavatam's second canto says, why don't we cry? Because the heart's like steel. Why would we cry? Because the heart is like butter or soft or gold and you can melt it. So it's a nice meditation when I'm performing different devotional activities. What's going on with my heart? Because I'm chanting and I was like, what are you feeling? Like sometimes devotees in japa retreats, they say, when I chant, I don't feel anything. And my answer is, well, how does that feel, to not feel anything? If you know what I mean. No, I see the deed, I don't feel anything. No, we feel something. What do we feel? Nothing. That's what we're feeling. That feeling nothing is a feeling, isn't it? Boredom is a feeling. Lack of taste is a feeling. So that is, I would say, it's a kind of curse in a sense, in a broad sense of the term. It's a kind of curse we bring upon ourselves. And certainly, you've probably thought the same way, that you're chanting the holy name, and it's like, sometimes you feel nothing. It's like what is wrong with me? This is horrible. So, this is the reward of doing tapasya. This is the reward of spreading Krishna consciousness. This is the reward of making sacrifice. We've become purified. So that when we chant the holy name, maybe something goes on. Maybe we don't cry, but maybe we feel something, that Krishna is with me. Krishna is present here. We've heard it a million times, haven't we? Krishna is present in his name, and the deity, and the Bhagavatam. It's non-different from Krishna. And so Prabhupada's saying something interesting in the purport. Basically what Prabhupada's saying is, what would be the use of you seeing Krishna because you can't see him anyway? Like, oh. And so many devotees say, well, I see the deity and I chant Bhagavatam, but if I could just see, if Krishna could just walk in right now for like a minute, give darshan, that would be it, But you wouldn't see him. If you can't see him here, you wouldn't see him walking in. If you can't see him in the name, you wouldn't. There's no difference between the deity and Krishna, the name and Krishna, the Bhagavatam and Krishna. And we think, no, but if he walked in, then I could actually see him. But if you can't see him in these other forms, why could you see him in that form? So we should understand that's not a sound logical argument, because it's the same Krishna you're not seeing in these other forms walking in. So Prabhupada is saying that here. But he's also saying, okay, you can't see Krishna, but Krishna will Krishna comes in a spiritual form. You definitely can't see it. Okay, he'll come in a form, at least you can see that with your eyes, can see it. Spirit we can't see. What did Prabhupada say? You can't see the soul, so how will you see Krishna? He's transcendental, spiritual. You can't even see the soul. That you can see. So at least our physical eyes can see the physical marble or wood. And Prabhupada would always say, just see how kind Krishna is, that he'll come in that form and let you serve him. Wow. God will let you serve him. You can wake him up, brush his teeth, wash his feet, wash his hands. Wow. That's amazing, isn't it? And all you need is a Brahman thread, or you need Pancharitriki mantras you can get, after a year of being a devotee, if your guru is agreeable. And you can, wow, that's amazing. Krishna lets us do that. So, when we see the deity, we see Krishna is coming in a way which we can see him kind of, sort of. And we can grow and become attached to that deity. The deity can talk to us. We can talk to the deity can reciprocate. And this is, as Prabhupada said, this is how we become purified. We need this to become purified, and so we can go out and spread Krishna consciousness. If we become so attached to the deities that all we want to do is serve them and we don't care about anything else and people becoming devotees. That's a problem. That is a low level of bhakti. So when we emphasize deity worship, it's not exclusive. Okay, that means I don't have to talk to anyone when they come to the temple. I'll give them the cold shoulder. No, obviously not like that. Now, Prabhupada has criticized that. So there's a balance there. The deity worship inspires us so that we can go out and share Krishna consciousness in a more pure state. You can, when devotees traveled and they asked Prabhupada, should we have deities? He said, Bhagavatam, just put Bhagavatam on, that's your altar. You can worship that. There are temples in which they worship on their altar the holy name. That's the only thing on their altar. So, deity worship is for regulation, for cleanliness, for keeping us sattvic, so that we can go forward in bhakti. So, I mean, other things can be said, but we only have like 10 minutes, so maybe we can take some questions and some sharing, some discussion. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes. Multifarious forms, you mean deities in other temples or other incarnations? Yeah. Well, he's asking, should I focus just on Radha and Krishna, or more like Sita Ram, or Gaur Nitai, or Jagannath, or Lakshmi Narayan, like that? Prabhupada established the worship of Radha and Krishna because he was guiding us to develop love of Radha and Krishna. And specifically, Mahaprabhu came to help us develop love in the mood of Radha's love, or even as a servant of Radha. So, and the Goswamis were all gopis or manjaris, and predominantly the acharyas in our line are predominantly in that rasa, and they're all pushing us towards that highest ideal. So, now, you may be a Ram Bhakta for 100 lifetimes, and so when you come to a Radha Krishna temple, it's like, where's Lord Ram? Where's my Hanuman? You know, that's very rare, but it does happen. It does happen. But in general, Prabhupada is, directing us towards the worship of Radha and Krishna. So we're going along with that guidance. And now, Gaur Nitai that's Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna, Jagannath is Krishna, Shyam Sundar. So, unless there's some strong bhav towards some other rasa, or, because you may have been raised in a certain way, and maybe that's ingrained, and you try and you read our books, and maybe you were raised in the Sri Sampradaya, it's worship of Lakshmi Narayan, and you would come to ISKCON, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it's worship of Radha and Krishna. It's like, I can't do it. It's just like, this getting rid of the awe and veneration and going into the intimacy, I can't do it. All right, so you can worship. You'll see Radha and Krishna as Lakshmi Narayan. Yeah. So it depends, you will see the deity according to your rasa, your inclination. But a lot of us don't know what our rasa is and what our inclination is, so we follow Srila Prabhupada's guidance. Everywhere there's Radha and Krishna. He's given us the 10th canto, 1970 Krishna book, so that we understand, and in glorifying the mood of the gopis, the highest devotees, and following their footsteps like that. So we just go along with it, unless internally there's something that's so deeply rooted in another sampradaya or another relationship that's like, I can't. We have some devotees who are initiated by Prabhupada who join the Sri Sampradaya, that their inclination is different, but it's rare. But we see that sometimes. Now, another thing that you might ask is like, well, is everything geared towards Madhurya Rasa? Is that where I'm supposed to go? Maybe not. Maybe that's what the acharyas kind of push you towards. But maybe you're a cowherd boy. But still, because the gopis are the most exalted devotees, we use them as examples of pure devotion, which would then enrich, your cowherd boy Bhav, or your Lakshmi Narayan Bhav, or your Hanuman, Ram Sita Ram Lakshman Bhav. So it doesn't mean if you're in another rasa or another mood, you wouldn't hear about the gopis. It will enrich your bhakti because they're the pinnacle of pure bhakti, and Radharani is the pinnacle of pinnacles. So we learn from them. Now, you have Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam talks about Prahlad Maharaj, who's like Dasya or Shantaras, Dasya Ras. So we hear about all these great devotees who become purified, and then we can understand the gopis. Not so easy. So we become inspired by all of them. If Mahaprabhu wants to give prema in the mood of the gopis, then, okay, I'll take it. Why not? You know that story? Murari Gupta was an associate of Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu was joking with him because he knew this wouldn't work. Murari Gupta was actually Hanuman incarnated, expanded as Murari Gupta in Chaitanya Lila. So being Hanuman, we know Hanuman is obviously the ultimate, the pinnacle of Ram Bhaktas. So Mahaprabhu joked with him. He said, Murari Gupta, you should give up your worship of Ram and you should worship Krishna. And Murari Gupta went home and tried to do it, and all night he couldn't sleep. He was in total anxiety. And he came back to Mahaprabhu and said, I can't do it. Mahaprabhu glorified him. He said, yes. You cannot give up your master. Your master cannot give up you. That's glorious. So he just did it to tease him and show. Now, the interesting thing is, then you think, well, why did Murari Gupta, who is Hanuman, come in Chaitanya Lila? That's kind of isn't that Rasa Bhasan? But in the eternal Navadvip of the spiritual world, you can have a form in Chaitanya Lila, and you can be Hanuman in Ram Lila, and you can be Murari Gupta in Chaitanya Lila. So if you, me, all of us want to enter Chaitanya Lila, we can have a form and also be in Krishna Lila, or just Chaitanya Lila, or just Krishna Lila, or both. So, and Mahaprabhu's here's the love. Here, I will show you how Radha loves Krishna, so you can follow that. And you can try to understand it and imitate it. Not imitate it. Benefit from it. But I want to tell you a story. I told a story in that class. There was a discussion on Gopi Bhav, the emotion of the gopis and the surrender of the gopis. And one of our godbrothers, Achyutananda Swami, said, I will tell you what Gopi Bhav is. It's when you're 69 years old and you get on a boat and risk your life to spread Krishna consciousness in America. That's Gopi Bhav. That's love in the mood of the gopis, not just sitting around and feeling it, Radhe, 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 yeah. Take your Radhe, Radhe on a boat, and risk your life. That's Radhe, Radhe. Hare Krishna. Who else? Who's next? Yes. Just see Radha Gopinath and go? That's a new one. I haven't heard that one yet. They must be really busy. They must be really busy or really attracted to Radha Gopinath. He's saying they just take Radha Gopinath darshan, not Gaurnitai, not Prabhupada, not Jagannath. And what's that all about? Maybe they don't understand. Are you talking about initiated devotees or public? Or both? Really? Well, how are you going to understand Radha and Krishna without Mahaprabhu's mercy? And how will you get Mahaprabhu's mercy without Prabhupada's mercy? That's the philosophy. You have to go that. So through the mercy of Guru, we get mercy of Nityananda, and Nityananda's mercy, we get Mahaprabhu's mercy. Mahaprabhu's mercy, we can understand Radha and Krishna. There was, I don't know if this relates, but one time there was a parikrama, and during Bhaktisiddhanta's time, so his disciples were listening to him, and then it was time for parikrama, and they left. Most of them left, some stayed. And he said, they should have all stayed, because all they're going to see is marble. Because you have to hear, in order to see, you have to hear. He said, so what will they see? They will see marble. So if we're going to see the deity, we have to hear what is the proper way to see. Hear the parampara. So that's how we see. So that's generally what I would say. Without hearing, you see marble. Well, I wouldn't judge somebody and say you're seeing. That was a philosophical point. But still, we see through parampara, through Prabhupada's mercy. Everything ultimately depends on Guru's mercy, and ultimately that depends on Prabhupada's mercy. So, if I don't have Prabhupada's mercy, I have nothing. If I have Prabhupada's mercy, I have everything. Because Prabhupada said, he said, my godbrother's got the property of Bhaktisiddhanta, but I got the real wealth because I had his mercy, because I took his instructions. So if I have Prabhupada's mercy, I could do anything and see anything and be anything. If I don't, it's just me. So I would always say that, we will see everything, we will see the deity through Prabhupada's mercy, Gaur Nitai's mercy. That's how I feel. Yes? Yeah, and Prabhupada said you should know. Through the heart. How will you know if the deities are happy? I mean, I think there's one very objective way to know, because standards are followed well. And the people dressing the deities are following the principles. They're pure. When Prabhupada was here in Australia, and he tasted the prasadam, the Mahaprasadam, this was the only place that he ate maha. Did you know that?